What's going on YouTube? It is Texans Takeover back in another video. In today's video, things have gotten crazy around the Houston Texans as of recent, especially today. Um, Earlier on today, we had the report that we traded Titus Howard to the Cleveland Browns for a fifth round pick. They're extending him to a 3 year, $61 million deal, or 63. It averages around 21 million per. I don't think the Texans are willing to do that, which is why we traded Titus Howard. But then we got the report about an hour and a half ago or an hour ago. Sorry if my voice is a little weird. I'm a little bit sick, but yeah, things just got crazy around the Houston Texans. We have traded for David Montgomery from the Detroit Lions. And if you want to see what we gave up a fourth round pick, Juice Scruggs, and a seventh round pick. This is a very expensive deal for a running back, especially when the running back's about to turn 29 years old. That fourth round pick is pick 128, not pick 106. So we do remain with pick 106. And then we also picked up a fifth round pick in the Titus Howard deal, which is the top of the fifth round. So we pretty much gave up a fourth round pick, which is 128. And then for Titus Howard, we got pick 139. So we moved back 11 spots there. We get Juice Scruggs off the books, which is something that I think is quite nice. Um, Juice Scruggs was going to be a cut candidate, so I think he was just thrown into the deal because the Lions, expressed some sort of interest in him. And it's always better to get a player to go to somewhere where they want to, or where the team wants them, rather than just letting them be on the open market. Um, so Juice Scruggs heads over to Detroit, and then we give him a seventh round pick in 2027 from the Los Angeles Chargers. So. Um, Not really anything too big there, and a seventh round pick being given up. But the key thing is a fourth round pick. If you want to take it into perspective, it's basically we traded Titus Howard, Juice Scruggs, and a 2027 seventh round pick for David Montgomery. I think it's steep. I think the price is steep, especially for the age that David Montgomery is, but I can't, go against what I think he's going to produce in Houston. I think he's going to be a 1,000 yard rusher next year. I think he's really going to solidify the Texans running back room. And the big thing about David Montgomery is his cap hit. All of his guaranteed money has already been paid. So he's just on the books for $6 million a year, and I don't think you can find a running back as good as David Montgomery for $6 million a year. Um, this is probably going to take us out of the market for a Kenneth Walker, a Rico Dowdle, a Travis Etienne, but I'm completely fine with it. I think David Montgomery's a great piece to have on the Texans, and then we can go get our RB3 in the draft. That's what I think we'll be doing. I think we'll go after a Mike Washington Jr., maybe Kalon Black, something like that, in the later rounds of the draft to get our RB3, potentially RB2, or the guy that can be the explosive back. Um, when we're trying to generate big plays, because we know both Dave Montgomery and Woody Marks are guys that are going to be in between the tackles for you, but that perfectly fits what the Houston Texans want to do. Dave Montgomery is going to be that lead back, that bell cow back that we've been so desperately needing since Joe Mixon got hurt. So he's going to step into a great role right away. But we do give up a fourth round pick, which is pretty steep for a running back that old. But then again, being only $6 million a year is definitely going to free up some cap space for us headed into the offseason to rebuild the offensive line after trading Titus Howard, after trading Juice Scruggs. Um, and Titus Howard only gave us about, I think it was 4.3 or $3.4 million in cap freedom. There is $18 million in cap savings in there though too, so it's not like it was a horrible deal. It wasn't. It saved us a lot of money going forward. It's just in the immediate, it hasn't really. David Montgomery only $6 million though. It's probably steep as of now, just because we haven't done our restructures and stuff like that. So I think we're sitting at negative $9 million in cap space. But then you cut Joe Mixon, you have him in for a medical. I'm pretty sure that frees up the entire deal of $10 million, so you're back to the positives. Or even if you just cut him regularly, then that's $8 million freed up. So you know, if you're bringing in David Montgomery, you're cutting Joe Mixon, then you're freeing up $2 million in cap space just there. And then trading um, Titus Howard and Juice Scruggs frees up about $5 million in cap space, somewhere around there. I think it's 5.8 in totality. So yeah, I like the deal for David Montgomery. I'm excited for him to be a Houston Texan. Continues the Iowa State pipeline that we have growing for some reason. Montgomery, Hutchinson, Higgins, Knoll, um, all going to be Cyclones on the Houston Texans next year. Maybe there's another one in Dominique Orange, big citrus coming in the draft. We don't know. That's yet to be seen. But um, yeah, I really like the trade for David Montgomery. I just think the price is a little bit steep, but I think you can get over the price when you see the production that he's going to have next year, especially helping us stay in front of the chains with his contact balance, with how good he is between the tackles. Something that the Texans desperately need, but we also need to address the offensive line to help him out headed into the offseason, which I think Nick Caserio has a clear idea of what he wants to do, which is why he traded away Titus Howard. Moving on to the PFF grades, though, this is him as a rusher. You can see he ran for 716 yards, 8 touchdowns, which is higher than anyone in our running back room, and he was an RB2 last year. So you can see the yards per attempt there. Had 151 against Baltimore on 12 carries. Had 60 against Dallas on 6 carries. There's a lot of good games in there, especially the game against Cincinnati. I really liked from him. Game against Chicago, I really liked from him. I just think he kind of got underutilized in the back half of the season. You can see the production at the start compared to the production at the end. Um, they started to phase him out for Jameer Gibbs. And ultimately it kind of led to their demise a little bit. Um, he's a really good back. He's a little older, but he still has a lot of touches in him and a lot of production left in him. So I'm excited for him to come in. Um, and you can see how good of a runner he is, putting up 151 against the Baltimore defense. That was a little bit shot at that time. Um, is no small feat, putting up 75 or 71 against the Washington defense, which wasn't horrible, isn't a small feat either. 10 of carries, never a small feat. Against the Rams, 4.6 yards of carries, great. Chicago 5.3 is great. I thought they should have utilized him more in that game. I thought they should have utilized him more a lot throughout the season. You can see the success he had against Chicago in their first matchup with 5.2 yards an attempt, scoring a touchdown, scored 8 on the year. Which is pretty low for his standards. So I think, headed into Houston, he's going to be more of a bell cow back rather than, getting shouted out by Jameer Gibbs. And I'm not saying that, Jameer Gibbs isn't good. He's probably the best running back in the league, or Bijan is, but, Gibbs is definitely up there, definitely deserves the touches that he does get. But it sucks that someone like David Montgomery is in the crossfire for that, because I do think he's one of the pristine backs in the NFL. And I think the, Lions had such a dynamic tandem with Sonic and Knuckles. And Knuckles is now leaving. He's headed to Houston, and I think we're gonna, you know, cater to him as well as we need to. He's gonna be the starter, obviously, and then we're gonna have um, Woody as the backup, and then whoever we draft as the RB3. Maybe it's someone in free agency like a Bam Knight, as I've continuously done throughout the free agency simulators. Potential for that there. I like the fit in Houston as well, but I do think we need an explosive back, so I would love Mike Washington Jr. here. But I think David Montgomery is a great piece, and you can see him as a receiver here. Had 192 yards receiving, which I think is more than Woody Marks did last year. I could be wrong, but really good in the screen game. Um, if you just want to dump it off to David Montgomery, he's going to be able to do special things with the ball just because of how good his contact balance is. Um, you can see they utilized him a decent amount as a receiver throughout the season, especially early on. 4 targets against the Packers, 4 targets against the Vikings, 37 yards against the Chiefs. So, he's a capable enough receiver, and I think that's something that CJ Stroud's desperately going to be looking after too, because we need a security blanket from the running back position. That's something we didn't have last year. Some guy that, Stroud could just jump it off to and make a play. We didn't really have that. David Montgomery's definitely going to be able to come in and do that for us, alongside Dalton Schultz, excuse me, who's going to be another security blanket if we don't trade him, which I don't think we will. Um, I think we might actually extend him to a 1-year deal to free up some cap space there. But David Montgomery, yeah, can be a very fine option as a runner. And a receiver too. And the thing he's elite at is actually his pass block and run block. You can see the pass blocking and the run blocking there. Incredible to start the season. 79, 78, 75, 82, 80. Had a little bit of a tough stretch, but he just wasn't asked to block that much. You can see that's why there's a lot of dashes there. He wasn't really asked to block all that much. So, the grades are kind of just meh, because he wasn't asked to block all that much. So if he had one bad rep, then he has a 22, he has a 29, because, again, there's not much of a sample size um, compared to the other weeks. You can see there, in week 5, is it that 82 grade's really strong, especially with that run block grade right there at a 60. He averaged a 58.9 and a 58.0 in the run block and pass block grades, and I think that puts him in the top 10 in the NFL in terms of all running backs in blocking grades. So I think CJ Stroud's definitely going to use that to his advantage. He's going to be a luxury, for both the offensive line and for CJ Stroud to buy him some extra time in that pocket. Um, he's going to block his life off. He's going to be really good in the red zone. We know we need help in the red zone. Dave Montgomery is going to solve those issues right away. He's going to help us on the run block and pass block game too. If you have a two backfield with Woody Marks and Dave Montgomery, and you give the ball to Woody Marks, then Montgomery's not scared to block. He's not afraid to block. That's one of his best attributes. And I think he's an incredible blocker. I think he's one of the best blocking running backs in the league, if not the best. Certainly, probably one or two better than him, but I think he's in the upper echelon of running backs that know how to block. And I think Nick Caley's going to love him for what he wants to do in a scheme, which is get running backs that can run in between the tackles, be tough, get downhill. Dave Montgomery definitely does that, and yeah, he's just a special player. I think we gave up a lot in compensation for him, but I'm not mad at it at all. I think he will be very productive for us next year, um, both in the receiving, in the run game, and the blocking game. So you get the trifecta there with David Montgomery, and you can see some clips here. Jump cuts very nicely. You can see how hard he is to bring down. That's three dudes on him from Chicago after evading Kevin Byard, and he's still able to stay up. This one against Dallas, quality's a little bit bad, but you can see another jump cut, and then he just explodes through the tackles, and then very hard to bring down. Took a dude grabbing his jersey, and he's still able to evade it. And then Malik Hooker just wasn't able to bring him down, and he finds the end zone for, I believe that was his fourth touchdown on the year. Um, and then we have this game against Green Bay. Where you can see how much he loves his jump cut. Jump cuts once, jump cuts twice, and then he finds the open space. Takes two dudes to bring him down, but I really like the vision that he plays with. And then we have a pass block rep here, I believe, from David Montgomery. So you can see how special of a player he is, especially with that jump cut, able to find those gaps. Um, but you can see how willing of a blocker he is. You can see, I'm probably going to replay this rep just because you can see um, how well he resets his hands in the blocking game. That's something that you don't really see from running backs. But you can see this Mike blitzing downhill, and Montgomery picks him up, and then you can see him reset his hands to the inside just to maintain his base, stabilize it, and it allows Goff to throw a dime down the field to Tim Patrick against the Cowboys. Again, if you want to see these clips, we'll go back to the Packers one where he jump cuts twice, finds the open space. You can just see the vision here. You can see that blocker. I think that's Sam Laporta who came over to help him out, which allows for a big gain. This one, I think, probably one of his best runs of the season, besides the one against the Ravens, which I just wasn't able to find for some reason. But stiff arms a dude, able to evade him, still spin, still maintain his acceleration, and then find the end zone. This one, just another great jump cut with the vision. Two jump cuts, actually, I didn't even recognize that, but you can see how hard it is to bring him down. And I think, if you get Dave Montgomery to wear you out, and then you have Woody Marks, another back that's going to wear you out, then you're pretty fine. And then you put in your explosive back like a Mike Washington or something like that that you could draft to really enhance our team headed into next year to really add to the explosion. So we'll wrap this video up here. Texans have traded for David Montgomery. We've let go of Drew Scruggs. We've let go of Titus Howard today. Probably going to be some more moves today. It's only 12:22 p.m., so there's going to be a lot more to be expected. But it's fun times for Texans fans. Stay tuned. And if you did enjoy this video, as always, please be sure to like, subscribe. And thank you all so much for watching. As always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Peace.